If we lived in a healthy society, this channel wouldn't exist. I wouldn't need to have this channel. And now I'm not saying that life should be easy by any stretch. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that men should be shielded and protected from hard things, because hard things are absolutely necessary. You need that pressure. You need adversity. What I am saying is this: we have the wrong kind of struggle paired with the wrong rewards, the wrong incentives, because right now men are expected to endure all kinds of things: stress, loneliness, to maintain discipline, restraint, and to sacrifice, right? Without a clear path to anything tangible, anything real on the other side of that. And in a healthy society, all of that struggle, it leads somewhere specific. It leads to a family. It leads to respect. It leads to continuity. So the problem, it isn't pain. Pain isn't the problem, because, like I said, pain, adversity is necessary. Pain shapes a man. The problem is pain that leads nowhere. We have pain that leads absolutely nowhere. The effort that gets put out, the output, it doesn't produce a future. So people, they stop believing in the effort itself and the future. There is no future in what I'm describing. And I want to talk about the differences between the ancestral struggle and the modern struggle. It's very obvious that when you get far enough down the line, when things become more modern, for the ones that do see the distortions, they see where things have gone wrong and things are inverted. They look back to what actually worked. And this is not a pedestalization of the past. Yes, there are flaws in the past. There are things that didn't work in the past, obviously. Plenty of things that I've talked about. All of these collectivist ideologies in the past that people have tried to implement to apply to daily life, to integrate. Those just didn't work. Communism, socialism, all that stuff did not work. But yeah, in the ancestral model, hard work, it meant family. Men worked knowing who they worked for. They worked for their family, or the promise of one. There was a clear reason for men to endure the exhaustion and risks that they endured. And then also, discipline meant respect. Self-control, it earned you trust. And a disciplined man was seen as very valuable. And then sacrifice meant continuity. Giving things up meant passing something forward. I suffer so my children would not have to suffer in the same way. However, when you think about that, I have to ask myself, is that the paradox that leads us to this point? Each generation that has children, they don't want their children to have the same struggle that they had. But wasn't it the struggle that created the way that they are in the first place? So if you're going to completely eliminate struggle from your kid's life, then the cycle will just repeat. So, but there are certain aspects, certain struggles, I would say there are certain struggles that should be eliminated so that your child doesn't have to endure them. But you still need to raise a disciplined child, a child that does understand adversity. So there does need to be balance there. And then also, more importantly, is sexual restraint, which that led to lineage and stability and belonging. Sex used to have consequences, and those consequences, they forced seriousness for both men and women. And what did that seriousness do? It created stable homes. Something that is very hard to come by these days in the modern model, which is very antithetical to the one I just described, because hard work can lead to isolation. I can work nonstop and still end up alone. Effort no longer guarantees any connection or loyalty whatsoever. I'm not saying the past had perfect guarantees, but it was a heck of a lot better than what we're seeing right now. That is true. And right now, discipline, it oftentimes gets seen as moral suspicion, right? If I set standards as a man, then I am framed as controlling. If I expect order, then I'm treated as some form of an extremist. That's some form of it's dangerous. And sacrifice has absolutely no guarantees. I can give years of my life and still be disposable. Loyalty is no longer returned, right? And sexual availability. So status inflation without responsibility. Right now in our economy, our attention economy, attention is cheap. Everything is wildly inflated. So yeah, in a lot of ways, commitment is avoided for different reasons. But yeah, desire, it continues to rise while responsibilities, they stay low. And so yeah, we kept the suffering and removed the reward structure, essentially. And now I'm not trying to get into every nook and cranny, but I understand people are going to start picking apart every little thing that I'm saying right now. It's just important that I kind of move from thing to thing just to really get my point across here. Because yeah, you could break this stuff down further, but I'm not trying to create a 2-hour video here or a 3-hour video, because that's what would end up happening. But yeah, I mean, what we're dealing with here is not a random failure. It's not. Dating, work, identity, culture, that they all reward the same behaviors. Attention is rewarded. Visibility is rewarded. Short-term gratification is rewarded and incentivized. The incentives all point to the short term, whereas long-term thinking and planning are not rewarded, are not incentivized. And I think there is an important distinction that needs to be made here. This what I'm talking about, all of this is not about bad men or bad women. Most people, they are responding exactly how they are trained and programmed to respond. If attention pays, people chase attention. And if loyalty, if it costs more than it gives, people avoid it. But if you change the reward, the behavior changes. Leave the reward broken and behavior follows that break. But it all goes back to inflation. When money inflates, when the currency inflates and gets debased, prices rise, but quality does not. If anything, quality does go down dramatically. Shrinkflation. There's all kinds of different things that happen. A domino effect. You end up paying more to get less. And in modern dating, I mean, you see the same pattern. There's a rise in expectations. The lifestyle demands, they keep increasing, and the standards for women's standards, they rise faster than the real partnership skills. Skills stagnate. I mean, home building skills are not praised anymore. Cooperation is not rewarded publicly. If anything, it's competition that's rewarded. And we have vanity, we have image that replaces usefulness. And yeah, commitment is delayed. Everyone is treated as temporary and disposable. Everyone is now a commodity. There's always another option out there. And yes, because of all of this, the formation of families freaking collapse. You get fewer marriages, you get fewer children, and more people aging alone. It's not good. This hurts everyone. Men, they lose a clear path to building a life. Women, they gain attention, but they lose long-term scrutiny. The system, it rewards visibility, not viability. And this is really where things get impossible. They become impossible to ignore. The insights that you can extract from what I've just said is that men are constantly criticized. Men, they absorb all of this criticism and they use it to improve. But women are insulated from criticism. Any direct feedback given to a woman from a man is labeled misogyny. Hatred of men, misandry, is completely allowed. But public humiliation of men, that is praised. It is praised. It's just putting a man in his place. And why is this happening? Because validation is profitable. We're a consumer-driven society. And this is not I believe in the free market. This is a distortion. We don't live in a free market in a lot of ways. We have a lot of distortions. And it's not because of capitalism, okay? It's not late-stage capitalism. Of all of the systems, the free market system is the best system. And this isn't about the free market, so I'm not going to go into that. I've talked about that in previous videos. So, but yeah, I mean, feel free the trolls can come at me with that one. I'm sure that's going to come up in the comment section. I don't care, whatever. But yeah, validation's profitable. Praise sells products. Comfort, it keeps people engaged. I mean, any one person that speaks plainly, they get attacked in silence, right? Platforms, they monetize affirmation, not formation. Because here's the thing, telling women they are perfect, that sells. And then telling men that they are failing also sells. And the result of that is maturity is delayed. And accountability, it becomes forbidden almost for the female side of things. And once again, stable homes, they become harder to form. And I think that this is why the birth rates are the canary in the coal mine. Just want to get into the mechanics. I mean, like I said earlier about sex and consequences, sex is now, thanks to the sexual revolution and the birth control pill and feminism, sex is detached from consequences. Decisions, they become fast and careless. And children are framed as liabilities. Kids are treated as burdens instead of purpose. It's radical to want children now. How is that a sustainable How is that a sustainable business model if you want to remain a species? But yeah, I mean, you're seeing family formation just being postponed further and further back indefinitely. Just like an idiocracy, all of these affluent couples, they're not having kids, but all the idiots out there, oh, they're pumping them out right and left. It's an industrial revolution for that sect of people, but for all of the people with low IQs that are just that don't have any money, and because they can live off of the middle class, right? There's all kinds of incentives to either be poor or rich, but nothing in between. But yeah, and then of course, reproduction. What does it do? It collapses. But it's not. Extinction isn't just this nuclear bomb. It's what it looks like is it doesn't look like that. It looks like people just opting out over time, more and more and more, just quietly opting out. And yeah, when we're seeing the the loss of faith in all of these institutions, right? And for good reason. But yeah, I mean, when institutions fail, men, they look elsewhere. When culture offers no future for them, that's when the extreme answers feel attractive. When the pendulum shifts so far one way, it's got to shift all back the other way, and it needs a bigger push. It needs more momentum to get back. Um, but yeah, I mean, with dating apps, they distort choice, adult content. It messes your brain up tremendously. It trains consumption. It doesn't. It squeezes out any commitment and replaces it with consumption. And social media, it rewards just image over substance. So yeah, you got people avoiding commitment. You got people treated as disposable. You have people that chase pleasure over building a home, building a family. And so we live in a society that sells identity instead of outcomes. You have all these different labels that replace results. Men, they're not sold a life, they're sold an image. In my position, I'm not selling a rage or an escape. I'm just pointing at the built-in contradictions that we're seeing. In a healthy society, men would not need reminders of purpose. The path, it would be obvious to them. Effort leads to responsibility, and responsibility leads to family. Incentives would pull people toward commitment. And now screens dominate your attention. You've got pleasure is always available somewhere. It's all about shortcuts. Those are promoted more than responsibility. "10 ways to a healthier blah, blah, blah." It's just, meaning now has to be manually reconstructed. Men have to build their own code because culture will not hand them one. there's nothing that culture can provide a man. But I mean, this is where accountability disappears completely, especially for women, because in our system, women do not have to answer for their choices. And men are blamed for outcomes they did not create. And there are men that did create these outcomes. I'm not talking about those men. I'm talking about the men here today. They are to blame for outcomes they did not create. I'm not talking about the men that allowed this to happen. But yeah, I mean, we're a low trust society. We're not a fertile society. And resentment is building in our society. Right now, there is no replacement generation. But yeah, societies, they do not fall from enemies. They empty themselves. They fall from the inside. They empty themselves when incentives push people away from family and responsibility. Which, of course, what I'm describing to you is the abolition of the family. That is a tenet of communism. So, and then of course, this goes back to the interview that Yuri Bezmenov had with E. George Griffin. The four stages of that come from ideological subversion. That's what we're seeing right now. But one thing that we're really seeing now, especially that's the thing, is a lot of people, they escape to religion. They escape to Christianity. They think Christianity is going to solve this. And that's what I thought as well. I grew up Protestant for a lot of my life. I was baptized when I was 6 and was in that world. And then whenever I was in my early 30s, that's when I converted to Catholicism, and I converted to traditional Catholicism. I went to Latin Mass. I was pious and devoted. I was a devout Catholic. And that's the thing here is you can't escape it. If, like I've talked about before, even in Christianity, so the world is, this giant matrix, and you have the people that are programmed and the people that are supposedly outside of it, right? That can see the man behind the curtain. But it works the exact same way when you leave that matrix. You just go into a smaller matrix. It's like that Russian nesting doll situation. Christianity is just a smaller nesting doll inside of the matrix. It's another matrix in its own, of its own. And so, but that's when I was exposed to the trad wife trend, I should say, that's continuing on. And I at the beginning, of course, you fall for it when you're naive, but then luckily I was able to kind of see through it. But yeah, I mean, Catholics, they have their own celebrities. They have celebrity worship. I mean, there's Lila Rose, who's behind a huge Catholic pro-life movement. And she was on the Whatever podcast, and Brian Atlas, the host of that podcast, he was talking about feminists, and Lila, she chimed in and she said, well, that wasn't original feminism. And then he fires back and says, yeah, I mean, feminism has always been a man-hating ideology. And then she shakes her head and she's wincing. She says, that's not true either. So, I mean, that goes to show that even in these traditionally religious circles, these God-fearing women, they have the same feminist ideologies that are ingrained in them as secular women, right? The ones that you thought that you were escaping when you converted and joined this group of people. But yeah, I mean, feminism, I am not a Christian anymore, but I do know that feminism is completely antithetical to Christianity. I mean, they're water and oil. They don't go together. But that doesn't stop Christian women from attempting to Frankenstein the two together. Christianity is constantly used as a shield from criticism for a lot of women who have held very unsavory lifestyles in their past. Very unsavory. I mean, you that Nala woman, like all these women. I think that Lily Phillips, whatever the heck her name is, now she's baptized, but all of her stuff is still up. She's still making money off of that. But yeah, Christianity, it's used as this shield from criticism for a lot of these women. And those women, they never, like I said, they never changed or left social media. They remained on social media, and their content and their outward appearance, their actions, they still don't reflect their supposed conversion. It's wild. Christianity is just it's just used to benefit them. Claiming Christianity is it's used for social benefits, and now, like feminism, which was used to, for one of the reasons was used to increase the tax base for the government. This now increases their monetizable audience base. That's what happens. All of these women, they now get. That's the thing is these women that do adult content. They don't have a lot of the, of course, Christian sin. So of course they've got some of the Christian audience. They've got a lot of those men still, that are monetized in their sphere. But this ropes in even more of them, and they take that hook, line, and sinker. These Christian men, this Christian circle, and yeah, our civilization is just running on an unstable business model, and there's no sign of of stopping it until until it hits critical mass. I mean, the 9 years that I was a traditional Catholic, I mean, like I said earlier, I only went to Latin Mass. I surrounded myself with men and women in that circle. And the perspective I have now, of course, is 2020 because it's in hindsight. But what I witnessed was no different than the outside world, the outside matrix. Because you are tricked to believe that it's somehow you're protected from the ills of the world because of the Holy Spirit. No, that trad wife movement is the perfect example of what happens when you try to Frankenstein an evil ideology like feminism to Christianity. And the internet, of course, it takes it like anything else, and it's this monetizable costume. And men and women are in these traditional circles. They are obsessed, and they even fetishize traditional lifestyle and morph something that used to just be normal life for people into a career and this cosplay for attention seeking. It's all performative. It's disgusting. And that's a huge takeaway that I had, was that these people, they buy into these performative roles, this performative crap, this watered down modern version of what used to just be called life. And one prime example of this is a young lady by the name of Callie Ryan, and she has the Instagram handle Christ with Callie, and she has, I think, almost 150,000 followers. She's got a lot. And that's just on that platform. I don't know how much she has on other platforms, probably a lot too on TikTok or wherever else. But yeah, she's the perfect example of this modesty cosplay that we see, just getting tons of attention from. She's getting gassed up by women, and she's getting all this male attention. It's this inflated attention that I talked about earlier, this inflation. But yeah, being traditional is supposed to be this. It's supposed to be this private, hidden thing, but she puts it on out in full display. And if you go through her Instagram, dude, you will find the same selfies and cleavage shots that you'd see on any secular modern woman's page. She is no different. She's just using Orthodox Christianity as a costume to promote her brand. She knows what to say. She knows how to market. The marketing it's quite simple. It's very easy what men, especially traditional men and religious men, want. She knows this, and she's using it to her advantage. I mean, what she says, it may sound good, but watch what she does with her life. She says she wants to have a husband and make babies and bread and be in the kitchen and stay home, all this good stuff. But do you see her doing that? Absolutely not. She's single. She's single as a Pringle, ready to mix and mingle, dude. And how long do you think she'll be doing this? Well, as long as it's profitable, of course, which is a while. It's going to be a while. She's going to be doing a long time. But I mean, here's the thing. These men in these traditional circles, whether it's Catholic or Orthodox, they shouldn't even entertain women like this. A woman constantly on the internet and sharing everything to the world? Is that what you want? You're just going to become a character in her movie, dude. That's what she's produced, her movie, starring her. And you're just going to be a co-star. And so will her children. You will all become this status symbol for her. This is a way for women to chase status. And you see it also with that SD Williams woman. She's another example of that. She has over 100K followers on her Instagram. God knows how many on the other platforms. But yeah, these Christian dudes, they eat this up. They fall for it. These women are knowingly taking the virtue in life that these men desire and that they're trying to pursue, and then they're monetizing it and making a mockery of it just for attention and turning it into a career. And because of this, you'll never see a shortage of simps, especially in Christianity. Like I said earlier, tradition is supposed to be rooted in hiddenness. And these women, they're not leaving the public eye after getting a husband. And they've attained that stay-at-home wife life. They remain in the public eye, just preaching it and promoting it and selling it, but not living it when they could. I mean, no matter where you look in our society, there's an e-girl for it. And of course, simps to monetize it, to keep it alive. I mean, when these women make shorts saying that they belong in the kitchen, that they love it there, saying that they, make the kitchen great again, get a husband, get pregnant, bake some pies, saying there's never been so much joy than any that brings so much joy. Supposedly, it's this joyful thing, and then they're like, but no one understands me for believing this. They don't get it. Meanwhile, while they're doing this, they're also doing a fit check for you while they say all this crap. Dude, it's peak stupidity. And most of the comments on these videos are Christian dudes just flooding her with attention, with comments, with compliments, just simping like there's no tomorrow. I mean, and then you see this all the time. The sentiment from all of these men is protect her at all costs, as if she's the pinnacle of what men actually want. No, dude, she's just a caricature for it, or caricature of it. She's not the real thing. She's a mirage. She's an insult to the real thing. These women wouldn't be making these videos if men weren't drooling over them and getting gassed up by other women. You go, girl. Slay. Those slay chicks are still in their comments. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or not. When a civilization's currency and women's egos are, when the currency and women's egos are inflated, that's the end of that civilization. Seems to be the case. And one thing that I'm reminded of that is it's this thought is very discouraging for because all men want to have a family. They want to be married and all of that good stuff. I always think about the book The Road. I don't want to point to the road because there's a saying that is true. And this isn't all women, okay? But this is generally speaking, the saying it's used a lot. You'll recognize it when I say it, but it's that a man sacrifices his happiness for his family, and a woman sacrifices her family for her happiness. And that is perfectly illustrated in the book The Road, because the mother abandons her husband and her son. And so what she does is she takes her own life with a shard of obsidian, believing that life isn't worth living in the post-apocalyptic world. Because she's fearing the inevitable suffering and the cannibalism that they all would face. So she leaves the father and the son to their journey and dies separately, choosing to end her despair. And then in the movie, they change it a little bit. The wife, who's played by Charlize Theron, it's very fitting woman to play this role, but she looks at her husband there's a scene where she looks at her husband with such contempt. And you can see the despair in his eyes. He's just trying to keep his family together, to keep them alive. But she keeps trying to sow the seeds of all of them just ending it all, saying all other families are doing it. She has the gun on the table, I believe, and then she's just saying other families are doing it to escape this reality. And she is cold and unfeeling to him. You can see, like I said, you can see the hurt and the betrayal in his eyes as she abandons him and her son and walks out. She just goes outside and dies out somewhere into the darkness. So she chooses to die alone in the dark over being with her family. She wanted to escape that bad feeling of surviving over enduring for her husband and her son. Just think about that. And those same women, they still exist in Christianity. They exist everywhere. And like I said, to clarify, I'm not generalizing all women are like this. I don't believe that. There are good women there in this world. They're just a lot harder to come by. They're a lot harder to come by. They're a rarity. Whereas before, in ancestral times, when the incentives were there, when things were not inverted and distorted, you had a lot more virtuous women. But virtue is not something that's it. Well, the only people that are monetizing virtue are these e-girls, these trad wife e-girls. But they're doing a disservice to true traditionalism. But in closing, like I said, there's two main culprits for this. There's central banking and there's feminism. And those all come from collectivist ideologies. When you see the inflation that we're seeing, the debasement of the currency, the inflation of attention and women's egos, you also see, like you see the debasement of our currency, you're seeing the debasement of virtuous women, of women. And that is the world that we're living in. And there's a lot of despair in this world. Because this is not something that is going to be fixed in our lifetimes. It's like going to pan for gold after the gold rush. After most of it has been removed, now you have to dig deeper to find maybe a little bit of gold. And there is no solution in this lifetime. There's no solution that we have here other than to just only control what you can control in your own life and continue to dig for gold to see if you can find it. I guess. I'm not going to try and sell any form of hopium for people. I'm just being realistic and just pointing things out the way that they are. I call it like I see it. I'm a straight shooter. And I'm right there with you guys, okay? And there's going to be a lot of men out there in this similar space or adjacent to it, telling you to all this like looks maxing crap, trying to just focus on going to the gym and lifting heavy things and getting ripped and caring about vanity. That's the thing is, and also here's the thing: it's not it's not just women here. It's also men need to stop focusing on vanity. That's a very feminine thing to do. Is to focus on, add that to the signs of a decaying civilization. When men are hyper focused on their looks, I can tell you right now that men back in ancestral times, they weren't looks maxing, all this maxing, whatever the frick. Gosh, and just the language that we have now, the words. This is a hard world to live in. I can tell you that much. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of pain, but there's no direction. We're such an aimless society, and we need to get back on track. But we're all looking for someone to tell us what to do, and that's the problem. Is we're looking to someone else to do it. Don't look to me. Don't look to anybody else. Look at yourself and figure it out. Because that's what we're all doing. We're just trying to figure it out. And of course, help each other along the way. God help us.